Hello, I am Lise Colucci, and I am one of the life coaches at queenbeing.com, where we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. So if you want to know your own power and overcome toxic abuse, hit the subscribe button, and let's get going and continue on this healing journey together. So, hey guys. If anyone needs information about narcissistic abuse, healing, or recovery, or anything along those lines, head over to queenbeing.com. I always forget to mention this, but it's like the biggest resource out there, right? Head over to queenbeing.com for any information, support, and coaching options that are available. So, hey guys, Anastasia and Paula and Karina, how are you today? Happy to see you too. So we're going to change a little bit of the focus today and talk about sex and narcissism. I'm going to be doing over the next month or so, just like once a week, let's have a weekly sex talk, which sounds like fun, but isn't, because we know what it relates to, right? So this is stuff that is, I know it's hard to find information on because, anyway, not a lot of people can talk about it and get the information out there so that there is some resource for people who are in the situation where different topics of sex might come up and they don't know where to find support. So we'll go with that today. We're going to talk about the dominant, submissive, the DS dynamic within a relationship with a narcissist. It's not necessarily only sex, as anyone who has been in that situation knows, but it also is part of the sexual dynamic, if that is part of the dynamic within the relationship. So I am flying off the cuff here with no notes. Here we go. You need this today. 7 days, no contact. Last night was tough. Okay. All right. And then after we do this, we can obviously open it up to anything off topic that you guys have that you need to talk about as well. So stick in there with me if you have time, and we'll go through this a bit, and then we'll talk to you about what you need. So anyone have this experience of a DS relationship with a narcissist? So I'm going to start off by saying anytime you have a sexual dynamic or any dynamic where there's a control play going on, so anything in the BDSM world, anything, and you have a narcissistic person participating in this, it is a non-consensual situation at this point because it's coercion. How do you know? You don't know. You have to know the person. You have to get to know who you're with before entering into this. Part of the problem is people enter into a situation like this because it's also something they would like to do. People are not coerced as in their arms aren't twisted, usually. Well, but no, really, you know what I mean? Like they're not being forced into this dynamic, so to speak. They're often seeking something like this, or it sounds fun at the time, or it's a slow grooming into this sort of situation. So with that said, with a covert narcissist, you're not going to see it coming. So it's equally important to go slow in any relationship that you're in, but it's even more so important to not only go slow, but to research the person that you're with, get to know their background with this particular dynamic. Now, if it's something, so I guess I could... self-disclose some of this because I don't know how else to talk about it. So my personal experience is this was a slow grooming and coercion into a situation that was not as it was intended to be. What should have been playful became something that was expected on a 24/7 basis. And how do you explain the coercion? It's like any kind of narcissistic coercion where you don't realize you are being coerced. You think you're participating, right? Because they are basically, it's the same formula of the gaslighting and the love bombing and the devaluing that puts you in a position of being under someone's control. And then on top of that, they're throwing an extreme control dynamic at you. So it's probably going to be a quiet chat because I don't know how many of you in here in particular number one, if you have experienced it, it's a little bit difficult to talk about publicly, right? And this is why I want it out there, because there's no shame around it. This is just what it is. It is what it is, right? We're all adults here. Well, we hope we are. And the behavior slowly being introduced. Yes. Paul is saying the behavior was slowly introduced. Right. Hi, Abby. Good afternoon. So if anyone wants to talk about anything that when I come on these topics that are more private, more personal, and a little bit difficult to talk about publicly, if you have anything that you need to say, that you want to talk about or you want me to go into further, because a lot of these I will take excerpts from and make shorter videos so that the information's out there for people. Feel free to email me at any time, Coach Lise C, CoachLisec @gmail.com. And you can, if you don't want to type it here, feel free to send me questions or short versions of your story. I can't read a whole lot of long ones. I can, but time. So short bits of what you want me to go further into, or any information that I didn't say enough about. And I'll try to add it to something if I compile it for a video. So if you don't want it publicly, that's to say. Okay. Okay. I've been wondering, as codependent survivors, do you think we are more likely to end up as a sub in a BDSM relationship for the first time? Yes, I do. I think people pleasers are the perfect targets. I think a covert, especially dominant sadistic narcissist, will seek out people that please, because it's the perfect setup. You can obviously see that, right? Where you're giving, they're taking it in, and they're making it part of the fun. They're making you participate in the manipulation. Because if you don't, once it's set up, if you don't, you're the one in the wrong. You've agreed to this. You see, that's the trick. Unlike a situation where they're still wanting you to, it's all the same stuff. They want the same type of supply. They want the same worship and adoration, only they say it out loud often. You will worship me and you will call me this name. And that's how it will be. And you're saying, yes, okay, because it's fun and games, or it sounds sexy at the time, or whatever you think, or you're just afraid to say no, or the people pleaser in you is saying, okay, I guess that's what I do this time. And that's how I'll make this person happy. And so I'll do it. But it's not like it's overnight. It's slowly brought there. And yeah. And so, yes, I think that as a people pleaser or codependent, as you want to, as you're calling it, it absolutely can set you up for this if you run into someone who is into it. So yeah. Okay. No shame here. Have at it. Okay. So ask any questions you want about it too. Because as I said, I'm going no notes today. I thought of it. I thought, yeah, we should do this. This is sort of a follow-up to the last one I did, but very specifically only about the DS dynamic. And we'll do more about other forms and other aspects of BDSM another time. But this is specifically about this. So how would you go about keeping a relationship with your father as an adult who is a narcissistic wife? Abby, can you hold that question till about halfway through and re-ask it? Because I will lose it in the stream and I want to answer you. And I want to keep going on the same topic, or else my brain gets confused. But I don't want to forget you, Abby. So please, can you repeat that in about 15, 20 minutes? Okay. Yes. Post-narcissistic abuse. I think, okay. If you begin to heal the people-pleasing codependent traits in yourself after narcissistic abuse, then I think it's less likely that you could fall into that, because you're learning red flags. Red flags are still there in the dominant, so to speak. They're not dominant. They just think they are, right? That's the problem. It's not. Okay. But I think if you heal yourself and the codependent traits and the people pleasing, you can still, if that's your thing, okay, say maybe you want to do that. You enjoy that form of relationship. There is no judgment here on, I should have prefaced with that, no judgment on people's choice in lifestyle and people's choice in sexuality or anything like that. But there is a definite danger in stepping into something like this with a narcissist that goes beyond narcissistic abuse, because it's the control aspect is given over to them with permission. So it completely mixes it into where you totally feel responsible for the fact that you put yourself in this situation because you said yes, and they said do this, and you said okay, right? So yes. All right. It doesn't leave the bedroom in my case, which is important to me. Okay. I asked because I recently found myself in one for the first time, a very healthy one, however. And yes, I know I'm treading carefully. I really do trust him, though, and he's really a healthy person. See, and that's a different situation, isn't it? Totally different than when, yeah, it's not about the the what you're doing, it's the who you're doing it with, right? And what happens when you're with someone who is so controlling. So what can happen is, like, take a healthy situation. Describe for me a healthy, anyone who feels like it, describe for me a healthy exchange that in a way that I can actually say it live. That is what you feel is healthy about it. And I will tell you this, I'll tell you the toxic version. How's that? With me, if you don't feel, Paula's saying, if you don't fully make me comfortable in bed, I'll shy away about it. So her pulling away and arguing with made it less inclined to dress up. She would walk in wearing sexy underwear and demand sex. Well, yeah, there's the demand aspect, and there's the fact that okay, so when you're in a DS dynamic and you're giving over as a submissive, and we're talking about the submissive trait now, I have yet to hear of it on the flip side, but I'm sure it's out there where the narcissist is the submissive. I'm totally sure it's out there. Then they top from the bottom, and then there you go, right? But I don't know of any. So I can't speak to it personally, and I can't speak without hearing. So we're going to talk about it from the position of the submissive. My whole point was that they are, I forgot the point. Okay. From now on, that's what we're talking about, and that's why. Okay. Let's see. What are you saying here? All alphas don't know the definition. That's right. She didn't like having me please her. I found that weird. Well, because it's not about, so with a narcissist, sex isn't about sex, right? They're either using you for, if it's the sexual aspect, they're either using you for some sort of playing out of some toxic thing in their own world, or they're using your body as an object in which to make themselves, they basically are having sex with themselves through you, right? I made her orgasm and she looked upset. That was the only time she seemed open. That's why, and that's it, because there is vulnerability that happens, and in any healthy sexual relationship, because they don't have the ability to be vulnerable and happy about it, they don't like it sometimes. It makes sense. It's healthy because he doesn't want me doing anything I'm not comfortable with. Okay, this is perfect. Thank you, Kaylee. He wants me to do it. Wait, he wants me to want to do it. He never calls me a slut or anything remotely like that outside the bedroom. We talk. Okay, there's a healthy version. There is what her boundaries are, what his ability to respect those boundaries within that limit. If you're giving over to control to someone else in the sense of allowing them to be dominant to you, there has to be boundaries. And who has the most power in that situation? Generally, if you will hear in the BDSM community, is the submissive, because they're the ones that lay the boundaries. They draw the line. Now, with a narcissist, what do we know about narcissists and boundaries? Push, 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 until the boundaries are no longer there, and you're off in their world. A narcissistic dominant makes the world about themselves. Their delusional world of what they want and what they need They basically are kings on thrones or queens on thrones, right? But not in a good way. In a way of everything around them is their domain, and everything around them is to be as they want it to be. So you just take the characteristics of a narcissist, which is the delusional world that they live in, and everything around it having to line up to match that world, and amplify it by the fact that they are now in a position of control and power because of this dominance that is agreed upon. And people say, why would you do that? Well, it's not, you didn't just walk in and say, hey man, I'm going to take over your life and everything. No, it's just, we know because it's how it works. It's grooming, it's slow. It's a process of boundary pushing until there are no boundaries left, because that's what narcissists do. So, Kaylee's saying, and trust, really big. Okay. Which you will never find in a narcissist. Okay. But with a covert narcissist, and with a highly intelligent one, or with one that is really wanting this thing, really wanting whatever it is, a psychopath, a sociopath, somebody that knows what they want and knows how to get it, they can give you the illusion of trust. They can give you the absolute illusion of trust. They can set you up in a position. I'm saying all these things that are funny if you know the if you know the world, right? All right. They put you in a position of feeling, okay, I can only do it through story. I'm going to give you a story. Well, I know. I have to say it though, Kaylee, because it's for protection and it's what you look out for. And I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong, but trust is never, okay, trust to begin with is not a blind faith. Trust is given through somebody proving themselves to be responsible, consistent, caring. Don't push your boundaries. Ask if part of the DS dynamic is boundary pushing. That's the point. It isn't boundary crossing. Part of it is pushing someone to the line. This is what the thrill of it is pushing someone to the line and holding them there. Does that make sense? Like you push your emotional space in a physical way, whatever it is for you, for that couple, but you're both doing it, right? You get it right to that place. And the trust is in that moment, knowing that that person won't cross the line, right? Does that make sense? Okay. But with a narcissist, the line is pushed and the line is pushed and the line is pushed too far. And you can't call it back, because when you call it back, when you say, hey, so in a healthy relationship with the DS dynamic, you might have something go on where they say, okay, I want you to do X, Y, Z. And Z was your gray area. That was where your boundary is. All right. And so you're like, okay, I'll do X, Y, Z. And you do it. And you're feeling uncomfortable. And you don't like it. And you stop. You say, I'm not doing Z. You can't say that when you're in a DS dynamic, because the whole point of the play is you say yes. You've already agreed to it. You're saying yes. Now you have the safe word. You have ways out. Maybe you use it. Maybe you don't. But as a people pleaser, you struggle with should I say the safe word? Should I get out? The whole thing goes on. Afterwards, you talk, right? You say, hey, you know what? That Z pushed my line. I don't want to do Z. I don't want it. And they say, in a healthy relationship, I hear you. Okay. We won't do Z. What was it about it that upset you? Do you want to talk about it? They go into detail. That's where the trust is built. With a narcissist, they say, who's in control? Maybe not right at first, but later they will. Who's in control here? I'm in control. You're not in charge. You don't tell me what we're doing. I tell you what we're doing. Right? There's a difference. I've said no to Z and it was never brought up again. Ha ha ha. You see, that's how you learn to trust. You learn through experience. It's not like we can step in and know someone is toxic or not unless there's a million red flags. It's through experience and knowing that you can say no to the whole thing if it doesn't work for you. If you're in a position where you're like, I can't say no, I love them too much, I can't, something's going on. That's how you learn to trust yourself. This dynamic and this type of sexual relationship, or even if it's not sex, however it's played out, this type of relationship is one of self-trust, I believe, more than anything else. You have to trust yourself that you know your boundaries, you know which lines you won't cross, and you know that you can get yourself out of it. Because otherwise, it's a setup for Stockholm syndrome, right? It's the perfect setup for trauma bonds. For people who don't know, I don't know how to describe it for people who have not been in it, but if you haven't been in it, you might not be watching anyway. So, right. Yes, trust time after time. So far, so good. Only 3 to 4 months in, though. You just keep your wits about you and your head on straight, and you know you can get out. And exactly, trauma bonds are my biggest fear. It's intense. Okay, another thing I've been told is a support system. If this is an isolated situation where you don't have friends in the same situation, it can be more dangerous because there's no accountability to the group. Does that make sense? There's no support. There's no one to go to. There's no one to check and balance with. It's an isolated world. How do you prevent trauma bonds? Well, you shouldn't be trauma bonded in a healthy relationship, no matter what the dynamic. You should be able to walk away. Sad, breakups aren't fun, but you shouldn't have that massive amount of cognitive dissonance. It shouldn't be abusive. If it's not abusive, you shouldn't have the trauma bonds. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'm looking at it as if she's going to reply instantaneously. Okay, so that's what I want to say about that. What else? Any questions about anything I'm talking about, or anything you think I should talk more about that people who are out there watching, maybe in the situation, not knowing if it's toxic, not knowing if it's not knowing what's going on, even might want to know anything from anyone. Okay, did I miss anything? Gonna look. And I realize this is like way off topic from what we normally talk about. So yeah, it's the attachment because of the vulnerability that I worry will cause trauma bonding. I feel you. And I think, Kaylee, it's keeping your own autonomy and keeping your own life. You said this is only in the bedroom, so I would make sure my own life was on the outside of that, and that I had my own space, not necessarily that you have to live apart, but you know what I mean? Like you have your own life as well. Just like any healthy relationship, it's two people with their own lives who share life together, right? So you make sure that your whole life is not about this person. When this becomes 24/7, I personally don't see how that can, okay, I'm just going to say it. I don't see how that can ever be healthy. Whoa, and I blurred. Okay, fix it. There we go. I don't see how that could ever be healthy because it erases the autonomy we need for our life in order to have healthy relationships, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I just don't understand how it could be so, but that's me. But I think for survivors, it's important to maintain self and not being abused. Okay. Difficult for me, Lise, as I'm trying not to think about the sex, as that was what I enjoyed most. And I think next week I'm going to talk about really good sex. Really good sex. That'll be our sex talk next week. Really good sex and the narcissist and how difficult that is to let go of. So we'll talk about that next week. Because yeah, that's tricky. All right. Definitely don't get to see each other much, only like twice a week. I think it's keeping your focus on you when you're with you, and as much as you can, like any relationship or any, dynamic, you have to. And the vulnerability, understand you're going into your own vulnerability for your own reasons. You're not going in there to give your life to someone else. Somebody else and you are mirroring one another. In this kind of situation, if it's healthy, you're mirroring a need that each other has. Somebody has a need and a desire to have that dominant characteristic played out. Somebody else has a need and a desire to have that submissive characteristic played out. It's not because you want to give yourself to that other person in a sense of throw it all away and just be their slave. You know what I'm saying? It's generally because it's psychosexual play, right? And you're trying to get to a space in yourself that is a place that you need to go for yourself. So you maintain that aspect. And I would ask myself, why am I doing this? What do I get out of it? Where is the enjoyment for me? And I would continually ask myself that if I were to do that again, or if I were to do it on purpose. Let's put it that way. Okay. So what happens with a narcissist, though, is there is no option for that, because they're not in it for that. They're in it to literally have you serve them and say, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. They're literally after that piece. I feel I didn't enjoy the sex. It was more the dominance, but I won't go into that at the moment. You can go into it. I'm not saying don't go into it. I was just saying that I want to go into I was just rambling about next week. I don't know the answer to that. I just like it that what's or good or bad reason. I don't know that there's a good or bad reason. I would say, well, a bad reason is I don't want to I don't know, good or bad. How about what serves you in your life, and what is you? Was it you asking about the people pleasing? So what aspect is this people pleasing codependence, and what I need to experience for myself? It pushes you to a line in yourself where the vulnerability is all you're feeling. Is that not true? Like when you get to a certain point with it, it's your own vulnerability you're feeling. You're going deeper into yourself. When it becomes about, are they going to be mad at me, or am I doing this right? I don't even know. Like when it becomes about all about the other person, then it's no longer about your own journey. And I think that is less healthy than it being about your own journey, right? Sex, but then I push it a little more. Yes, but then I push it a little more than that, and it's freedom. Right. For you. That's right. And when it stops being freedom and it starts being giving yourself to someone who isn't reciprocating in the same way. And it doesn't mean the same way doesn't mean they're doing the same thing, obviously, because this is role playing, right? So they're going to be doing something different. But if they're not reciprocating in a way where they're also trying to reach that freedom in themselves, and they're just trying to control you, yes, it's about control, but it's a different kind of control. Does that make sense? It's like taking something you're saying yes to. This is the problem. You're saying yes to control. When you're with a narcissist doing this, it's completely different, because you're saying yes to control in that everything they do is right, and there is no wrong in the. Oh, how do I even explain this part? More questions. That's how. Anything else anyone has to talk about with this? I was abused a few times when I was young, so I became submissive. I'm only just connecting it to my ability to relax and enjoy sex with a narcissist. Used to say relax, and I knew I wasn't. Okay, so yeah, this is it's interesting to see in yourself and to work within yourself to heal and to, yeah. The thing is, Grace is saying, the dangerous ones can groom you into control by pleasuring, and you don't even realize it's gone too far. That is the point, that they groom you so slowly into it. It might start with, hey, let's play with this. Oh, look at this little silky thing. Let me just tie your wrists up. Isn't that cute? Oh, look, it's a little pretty scarf. Let's do this. Or, it might be, hey, I've never done this. Let's try that. It's playful. It's slow. It feels like you're participating in something, just like grooming does, right? It's not, well, it can also be very overt. I'm in control. This is what I do. I know what I'm doing. It can be all kinds of things, but it's generally a slower grooming. Oh, don't worry, I have you. Don't worry, I'll take care of you. And the point is, if you don't know the person, you don't know what you're playing with. So we got to get to know the people that we're with kind of before we engage in stuff like this, or if we're engaging in something like this, really be paying attention to that other person. Who are they in life? What are they like? Are there red flags? What's going on? Who is this person? Because the sexual play of a dynamic like this takes over, and you're no longer seeing that person. They're putting on a mask. That is what the play is. It's role playing, right? They aren't actually in charge of you. They aren't actually dominant over you. You are your own person, no matter what. Okay, you're always your own person, no matter what. So it's all role play. And so if somebody is, it may be role play in the sense that they're allowing an aspect of themselves to come forward, but that's kind of like wearing a mask in a sense. We all have masks, but I don't mean it in a narcissistic way. I mean, it's kind of similar. So if they are a narcissist and they're wearing the mask and they're wearing the mask of pretending to be safe in this, it can get really confusing and it can get really dangerous really fast. So yeah, he says he's madly in love with me, says Kaylee, but never says it, he says he's madly in love with me, but never says it, which scares me. I don't understand. You don't say it. I'm for some reason, I'm not understanding what you're saying. Okay. All right. So there's that. That's what I have about this. This is, he never tells you, but he says it to other people. What do you mean? He says it, but he doesn't say it. Well, I mean, it's only a few months, right? So you just watch. You just pay attention, and you watch the red flags, pay attention to yourself, what you feel, what you notice, inconsistencies, consistencies, like you would with any relationship. It's just the dynamic makes it more intense. So you be careful. That's all. Doesn't mean you have to be afraid. It just means being careful and trusting what's being presented to you and not getting addicted to the play and the sex before you know who this person is, right? Or even then, you got to hold your own. He told me he loves me, but he never says it regularly. Oh, okay. Can go weeks without saying it. Right. And I don't know, it could be his personality. It could be all kinds of things, but ask for more, ask for it, see what happens, ask for what you need, because if it's only in the bedroom, then that relationship is one of equality outside the bedroom. Here's the problem with the DS dynamic and narcissism. It should be a setup of equality. The dominant and submissive are two sides to the same coin, and together they make one thing, right? In a healthy role play, right? Because you have one person playing one part and one person playing the other, and together it's a whole thing. It's that to me is like a picture of it, if it's healthy. With a narcissist, you have the control, and so it's all one way, and there isn't equality. So the D and the S are equal in a healthy relationship, right? Especially if it's only in the bedroom. If it's not outside the bedroom, then you have this thing that comes together and there's a charge and it's equal, right? The play is equal. With a narcissist, it's them being in control. There is no equality. It's their world that they're creating, and that's it. And you're being used. You're more objectified than ever, and you start to feel it. All right. I brought it up and nothing really changed. He does show it though in his actions. I never encountered that before. Yeah, that is interesting. I would pay attention to that, because it's a need that's not being met, and pay attention to the equality outside the if it is truly only in the bedroom and it has been talked about that this is not a 24/7 dynamic, then make sure that the relationship is an equal one that is serving your needs on the outside of the bedroom, right? And keep the ability within yourself to say no to what you don't want in your life, regardless if the sex is good. It's okay. You gotta sometimes we have to let those go, and other times, I don't know. Yeah. So, okay. What was I going to say? Something about what you said. I don't remember now. Okay. Anything else, you guys? And then there was a question earlier. We'll go back to that. If nothing else, we'll wrap this part up and talk to you about anything you guys want to talk about today. I like how this is like this small crew, but it's the way it goes. I think that's it, right? Okay. Trying to find the other question somebody had. Abby did. There we go. Okay, so let's just wrap this part up and say that let's talk actually really quick about when it is 24/7. That is the most toxic thing, because it's giving your whole life over to a lifestyle that is there to serve one person. With a narcissist, it already is. It's basically amplified narcissistic relationship when you live it 24/7. And by 24/7, for those of you who are not into it, that means that all the time you are expected to maintain a dynamic within your relationship. It's not me and you. It's yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And they're my pet. That's it. Okay. You're not a human being with a narcissist. You are an object, and it's agreed upon objectification with a narcissist. I'm not talking about if it's healthy. I'm sure people can do it healthy. I personally don't see how. I don't understand. That's me. I don't get it, but it's okay. I don't have to. I'm told that people do it in a healthy way, and I accept it. I accept that for them that works, and that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is when you're with someone who's toxic and has no empathy. It's agreeing to the fact that you're being objectified. You didn't do it like, hey, I'm going to objectify you, okay? No, it's slowly brought up. It's groomed. It's conditioned. And just like anything else, but when you get to the apex of it, when you're really in it, it's you are lost completely. You're just an empty vessel waiting to be told what to do by a narcissistic person, which is basically how we all feel in narcissistic abuse. Only the difference is, the caveat, is that you've said yes to it. And when they say, why are you arguing with me? I set the rules. Why are you arguing with me? There is nothing you can say because you've agreed to that role, right? A true healthy dynamic like that there'd be timeouts and breaks and ability to speak and meeting times and like the dropping of the dynamic so that you can have an actual conversation. Nobody can maintain that. But with a narcissist or psychopath or a sociopath, you have somebody that is really getting into their element there. They're really on their game. And it creates a really toxic world. As a survivor, you are completely stuck in it, and it drags you under. All right. Sexual denial. I have that down. Withholding, denial, and the lack of sexlessness. I have that down on the list. Thank you. Okay. It's only in the bedroom and all else is equal for that. And it's definitely a need not being met, but I just going to take it slow and observe. That is all I can do. It's exactly what you can do. You observe and you keep your head on straight. That this is, it means collared usually. Yes, collared. That's the other word. I'm just trying to speak in plain speak, but yes. Okay. To put it in perspective, I could never do that. Right. And you should do a thing on how to tell if sociopath or psychopath. Okay. I have to refresh on that because I've kind of lumped them all together in my brain at this point, but yes, I will do that. Okay, thank you. And constantly trying to change yourself for your partner you want to want you. Constantly trying to change yourself for the partner to want you. That's kind of how this is. You're constantly trying to change yourself. Here's the thing with a narcissist and the DS dynamic. So they may set a rule. Like, okay, it's like anything. You picture a I want to say normal. Picture a narcissistic abusive relationship, and they set the tone, they set the rules because of their demands, because they are demanding, because of their tantrums they have, and because of the fits they have. It all becomes a world that revolves around them, right? Now take that and make it so that that's the norm. Of course, the world revolves around me. I'm master. I'm mistress, I'm whatever, right? So of course the world revolves around me. It's supposed to, right? This is because they're a narcissist and they're in charge in this dominant sort of way. Now, what was my point? So as the person who is the submissive to that, the rules change because it's the same as any other narcissistic relationship where one you say, okay, they want me to paint the room blue, so you paint the room blue, but it's the wrong shade. So then you go and you try and change yourself and you paint it a different shade of blue and it's still the wrong shade. Or you didn't do it wearing the right clothes, or you got blue paint on your shirt so you're messy and you're a terrible person and blah, blah, blah. It's like you can never please them. It's the same thing going on, but it's done and it's that the rules are so much more severe and so much more drawn out. Like the line is drawn that they draw for you. And then they're constantly setting you up to fail. Same thing, it's just amplified, right? Or narcissistic socio-psycho difference in BDSM. Too specific, huh? I like that. Narcissistic socio-psycho, wait, I had to say that again. Narcissistic sociopathic psychopathic differences in BDSM. I like it. Yeah. Okay. I don't like it, but you know what I mean. As a title, it's wild. I'm finding the fog is lifting, and I'm seeing how bad this narcissistic behavior is. And me confronting her about her weird demands and behavior are now on the discard with no sensitivity. I'm kind of mad she was constantly ranting about loyalty. Stop changing your mind, but it's okay for her to change her mind, get drunk, and call all hours and hang up when it suits her. The cold treatment is now my punishment for confronting the lies, and I know that I am angry because she knows it's hurting me. Yes, and see, this cycle will keep going on. It's the Groundhog's Day of life, It's the cycle of the narcissist, and it's gonna go on and on and on until you say no more, no more, no more. I won't do it anymore. I'm so bored by this. Or I just can't. I'm done. Right? And that's I've tried to be sexy and he said I was manipulative, so I gave up. Oh, yeah. And especially if you have a DS dynamic, don't try and do anything. Because as soon as you try, you're not doing the right thing. You can, especially sexually, with a narcissist, they'll pull the withholding when they feel like it. And so then maybe you try to, because you know that that's part of the relationship that makes it better, and you try and fix it by being sexy, then you're just manipulating. Yep. And that's not just in a DS dynamic, that's just narcissists and sex. I mean, it's really, when you talk about something like BDSM or even things like polyamory, where you have amplified situations, you have, BDSM, polyamory, open relationships, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is. I mean, those are two different things, right? But when you have any dynamic of sexual relationship that is not vanilla, so to speak, that isn't conservative or conventional, you are in a situation of the extreme need for absolutely immaculate communication. You need pristine communication together. You need the ability to speak your voice, have your voice be heard, have them speak their voice, have their voice be heard. You need the flow to be back and forth. You need absolute connection on the level of communication. We know from narcissism, from understanding narcissism, that you can't have that with a narcissist. Period. End of sentence. You can't be in these relationships with toxic people. It's really dangerous. And it's dangerous to be with them to begin with, but it's even more amplified by the fact that there is no way to have a healthy communication with someone when you're stepping into a relationship that requires the utmost level of communication, right? So there's that. So I would say, outside of, one way to pay attention is to pay attention to the communication that you have with someone. How do they listen to you? How do they respond when upset? How do they respond are they giving the appropriate response that you feel that you should be given in that situation? Things like that. That's kind of more to what Kaylee was talking about earlier, how to watch for it. So, okay. Hi, Vicky. Confusing subject for me. I think I'll listen. That's okay. I know that I didn't figure that it would be, I figured it would be a very few people chatting, but it's important to get it out there and just start. I said I was going to do this a while back and do like once a week, a talk on the different aspects of issues with sex and narcissism. And I'm just starting here because I can talk about this a little bit openly without a lot of notes. And I'm hoping that people will want to talk about other topics around it. Okay. I'm 7 days because I listened to you and I haven't called and I can't. Good. Stay firm. You will feel so much better when this trauma bond breaks and you will see them for who they are, Paula, and realize that that's not what you want for your life. Okay. Because the cycle of what they're doing is a lifetime cycle. Lifetime. It's not just for now, it's forever. That cycle. Endless, endless, endless. And it gets worse and worse and worse and worse the longer you're with them. So yes, break those trauma bonds. You stay firm. And yeah, okay. Hello, aloha, web education. He hated lace and other sexy things, usual sexy things, lots of rules. I failed always. Because of his failure, right? Not because you're a failure. So yeah, okay. All right, we're gonna end this topic. And there anything you guys want to talk about for the last 10 minutes here? Free for all. I had a question at the beginning. I don't know if Abby's still here, but I'm gonna read it in case they watch later. If they are not here, how would you go about keeping a relationship with your father as an adult who has a narcissistic wife? I would keep my relationship separate from his wife. I would set up lunch dates, hangout time. I would not call the house. I would ask him to meet me places, to talk to me when she's not around. Family events, I would keep it mellow. I wouldn't give her a lot of information. I also wouldn't give him a lot of personal information that could get back to her. It would limit my relationship with my father because it would mean keeping information, like I said, keeping information that could get back to her to be used against you away from him too, so that he's not in the position of going home, being grilled, and having things he has to keep from them, right? So I'd keep it light, keep it loving, keep it kind, but try to maintain autonomy from dad as much as possible, obviously, but more so than you might if he didn't have a narcissistic wife. That's what I would do. I don't know if Abby's still here, but if you are, and if you have any other questions about it, anything else you guys want to talk about today at all, got like 10 minutes or we can be done. Either way, it's fine with me. Anything? Are we good? I think we're good. Oh, have we discussed narcissistic fleas? I did narcissistic fleas a couple weeks ago. Pretty sure I even made a shorter video of it. So yes, I did. Okay. All right, you guys, I'm going to head out and today's Friday. Happy Friday. You have a good weekend. I'm going to try and come on during the weekend and talk about accountability, which is what I was going to do today, but this came up, and so I did this, and we'll do it tomorrow or next day. I'm not sure which day. So yeah, we'll try and do a weekend one this weekend. Yay. And that's it. So again, if you have not hit subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this, hit the thumbs up, and we will talk more next time. If you would like notification of my going live, text me at 33222. Put the words Lise Live, Liselive, all one word, and send, and I will sorry, I was reading at the same time. I will send you notification 10 minutes prior to going on, and that is the only notification I send. And that's it. You guys take care. Any information that you might need about narcissistic abuse, about support, about coaching, go to queenbeing.com and check us out over there. If you, in the main section of, or in the main description of any video I have a list of information on where to find me, coaching available with me, and group coaching. The group coaching is awesome. So anyone interested in that, check it out. And that's it. Kaylee, I'm happy you blew up the chat because it was nice to have a conversation. I enjoy that. I love conversation. I like when there's like 3 going and I can volley the conversations, but that was enjoyable. And I appreciate your help with that because it is a very difficult thing to just sit and talk about without somebody giving me, feeding me their story too, because I can only then go from my head. So that was good. Thank you. I appreciate it, Kaylee, and for your ability to be open and vulnerable with us here. All right. Would like to get into the narcissistic look a little more. Like to find some pictures. Oh, well, where can I suggest that? I can't really off the top of my head. I'll think about it. All right. You're welcome, you guys. You guys take care, and I will see you tomorrow or Sunday. I don't know which day. Maybe tomorrow. Okay. Bye.